Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Wednesday, February 23rd. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. We've been getting it all. Pounding rain, hail, wind, and snow, and scattered sunshine all across the county. But with this wild weather brings both difficulty for those driving, yet fun for those eager to play in the snow. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado kicks off our coverage.
It may be February, but winter has finally arrived in Southern California and in a big way in San Diego County. The Valdez family drove up to Cuyamaca State Park from Rosarito to take advantage of the fresh falling powder.
This had a beautiful day with my kids in the snow, the snow day. So I like it, I love it.
It was like a surprise to me what's gonna snow this much.
His daughters had a blast, doing everything you're supposed to do with a pristine blanket of snow. Throw snowballs at Dad, make snow angels, and...
I'm building a snowman, and I'm trying to look like the Olaf.
But there's a limit when it's this cold. Take a look at this time-lapse video from Cuyamaca Peak. It goes from sunny, summer-like conditions to a winter wonderland overnight.
This is the best snowstorm in San Diego County by far. So this is the coldest storm we've seen all year.
Alex Tardy with the National Weather Service says this storm is ice cold. It came down from Alaska and packed a punch. And don't tell Jackie the Eagle, but we got more snow than she did in Big Bear or anywhere else in California for that matter.
So this storm really focused, came down directly from the north and turned the corner right over San Diego County. So we got more snow than even Mammoth Mountain. They got 6 inches, and our Mount Laguna Lodge got 14.
And it's not over yet. Tardy says it will continue to snow through the night, and temperatures will be even colder. So bring in your pets and anything you don't want to freeze. Alayla summed up the snow day pretty well.
It was pretty cold and a lot of snow, pretty windy, but you can have a lot of fun.
Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
And the coldest weather may still be ahead. Your full forecast is coming up in just a few minutes. The Biden administration is moving forward with new sanctions punishing Russia for its first steps into Ukraine. But as reporter Isabel Rosales tells us, along with the sanctions is, quote, a nuclear option.
Tough new sanctions to pressure Russia to back down from its advances on Ukraine.
It's a very broad-ranging set of sanctions, deeper than anything we've seen before.
The sanctions punishment for what President Joe Biden calls the beginning of a Russian invasion of Ukraine.
When all is said and done, we're going to judge Russia by its actions, not its words.
For the first time, the U.S. fully sanctioning 2 Russian financial institutions. Russia barred from raising money from the West.
These costs are going to escalate from here.
The U.S. taking it further to cripple the flow of money to President Vladimir Putin by going after members of his inner circle and their families.
We put on notice the oligarchy in Russia that no one is safe.
World leaders actively assessing whether these sanctions will indeed deter Putin.
I think we should still try to deter, but we also should not assume it will work.
The country already paying a hefty price. This week alone, more than $25 billion has been wiped off the value of Russian stocks. And the Russian ruble has fallen to near record lows against the dollar.
Hit Russia's economy now and hit it hard.
The West reserving some of its toughest sanctions should Russia proceed to a full-scale invasion. The so-called nuclear option would remove Russia from a key global transaction ledger, making it difficult for banks to send money in or out of the country.
Russia's already feeling the pain.
In Washington, Isabel Rosales, KPBS News.
The San Diego Unified School Board is moving ahead with its COVID-19 vaccination mandate. The requirement still has legal issues pending, but that will not stop the district from enforcing it, along with other safety precautions. KPBS education reporter MG Perez has the latest.
Unmute yourself, please. Okay, we will come back to her.
Communication is critical when it comes to COVID, and the San Diego Board of Education continues to be challenged on its vaccination mandate for eligible students 16 and up. At Tuesday night's virtual board meeting, the interim superintendent introduced a plan to revive and enforce the mandate, as approved by the board last September. Discussion included public comment through Zoom, with parents who wanted to debate mandatory vaccinations and masks that their children are still required to wear.
We need to stop the punitive actions to our students with issues masking now. You have the power, just like any other school district has done.
Several districts across the county have defied the state's mask requirement and now are offering a choice to parents. San Diego Unified is not.
Parents will no longer be asking for permission because this is a parent's choice. You guys do not have any authority over our children anymore.
As for shots in arms, the COVID vaccination mandate applies to athletes and other students 16 and up because that age group has been fully approved for vaccination by the Food and Drug Administration. There are no personal or religious exemptions for students. The board voted to enforce the mandate starting with summer school in June. The mandate would continue into the fall semester, and if students are involved in sports or extracurricular activities, they would have to have proof of vaccination when practices start in late July. There is still the possibility of legal action causing another delay. Meantime, the board's decision proceeds right along with the pandemic.
As we go through the legal process, before we get a final ruling, we have to press forward with what we believe is the right policy to protect our students and staff.
Students who don't get vaccinated will be offered other off-campus options. The board's long-term plan includes vaccination mandates for children 5 and up once the FDA gives full approval for that age group. There are parents who adamantly agree with that.
There cannot be education without health or safety, and public health is not a personal choice. No one has the right to spread around a deadly disease as they wish.
Still muted. Please unmute yourself, Jessica Rimsing.
Communication is critical when it comes to COVID. MG Perez, KPBS News.
The CDC is updating its COVID-19 vaccine guidance. It now says some people getting Pfizer or Moderna shots should consider waiting up to 8 weeks between the first and the second doses. And that is instead of the 3 or 4 weeks previously recommended. The CDC says new research shows a longer interval can provide more enduring protection against the coronavirus. It also may reduce the risk of rare side effects, a heart inflammation seen in some young men. The CDC says the shorter intervals are still recommended for those under 12 years old or over 65, as well as people who are immunocompromised. The head of the San Diego Housing Commission has resigned. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the departure comes as city leaders are looking to reform the agency.
Rick Gentry led the Housing Commission for 14 years. He oversaw the agency's expansion from mostly distributing federal housing dollars to also overseeing local homeless services. And it was under Gentry's watch that the commission hired a real estate broker last year who turned out to have a conflict of interest. Ryan Klumpner sits on the Housing Commission board. He says Gentry saw that scandal differently than those tasked with the agency's oversight.
He viewed it as primarily a messaging problem, an optics problem. And that's a very fundamental difference in how we looked at a serious issue and one that became challenging to get past.
The city council has the power to appoint Gentry's replacement. Klumpner hopes that person will push for building affordable housing in all parts of the city, not just where it faces the least amount of resistance.
I'm very keen to see what other people in other parts of the country are doing to work on that. I'm interested in new ideas and new approaches to how we get a more equitable distribution of affordable housing.
Gentry's last day on the job will be March 31st. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Volunteers from across San Diego County are participating in the annual Homeless Point-in-Time Count tomorrow. The count gives a regional view of the number of people living on the streets and in shelters. Last year, it did not happen because of the COVID pandemic. In 2020, more than 7,600 San Diegans were found to be homeless, with half of them on the streets. The Downtown San Diego Partnership says the number of unsheltered in the city's center has doubled compared to last year.
Hoping that tomorrow we can highlight the need that exists in our downtown neighborhoods and spur action so that we can move on both long and short-term solutions as a community, because what is evident when anyone conducts the count is that we have a responsibility as a community to do what we can to help.
The data is used to determine federal homeless funding in the county. 65% of the homeless population in 2020 was in the city of San Diego. The former director of finance for the La Jolla Music Society has admitted to embezzling more than $650,000. Chris Benavides pleaded guilty to a federal wire fraud count for stealing from the nonprofit between October of 2011 and February of 2021. The U.S. Attorney's Office says he wrote checks to himself, then altered the company's accounting records to make the payments appear as business expenses. He's scheduled to be sentenced in May. Less than a year after completing its stunning outdoor venue, the Rady Shell, the San Diego Symphony is now turning its attention to its indoor home, Copley Symphony Hall. KPBS reporter John Carroll shows us the work that will bring the space into the 21st century.
It's been the home of the San Diego Symphony since 1984, a building that began its life more than 90 years ago as an ornate Fox movie theater. Symphony Towers was built around and over it, but that was 38 years ago, so Symphony management decided it was time for a major update.
You know something in the realm of renovation is going on before you even get inside. This scaffolding gives you a clue as to what's happening behind those original Fox Theater doors.
How do we take what was a 1932 entertainment movie palace and turn it into a 2022-2023 Symphony Hall?
A major challenge, to be sure, one that's underway now, as you can see.
What you're seeing is this just tender, loving, adoring care of this incredible venue while still bringing her into the 21st century.
The architecture is Spanish Baroque. There is breathtaking detail everywhere you look.
It hasn't been touched or damaged or tinkered with in all these years, and so we're really preserving that.
There will be new box seats in these alcoves. The Juliet balconies will be used for seating for the first time. The stage is being reconfigured. A new orchestra enclosure will greatly improve acoustics for musicians and the audience. A new choral terrace will allow for large choirs to accompany the orchestra, or it can be used for audience seating. This decorative metal mesh will add to acoustical excellence. There will be new seating and new ways to configure it. But what's happening out of sight is also impressive. A new state-of-the-art air filtration system. The architects are making use of previously unused space, making room for things like storage of instruments. When taken all together, it is a major gift for music lovers and a dream come true for the symphony's music director.
It's fantastic. I mean, I feel very lucky.
Payare has already extended his contract once. His passion is bringing the San Diego Symphony to new heights.
This is what we're actually pushing and just going forward and trying to go higher and higher.
It's scheduled to open in the fall of 2023, and it's an expensive undertaking, $125 million, most of it coming from donors. But combined with the Rady Shell, the new indoor home for the Symphony will move San Diego into a new echelon when it comes to music, a proposition which really is priceless. John Carroll, KPBS News.
A winter storm stretching across the country has forced airlines to cancel more than 100,000 flights. More than 500 flights have already been canceled for tomorrow. American Airlines is taking the biggest hit. About 1/3 of all of Americans' arrivals and departures at its headquarters in Dallas were canceled today. Nearly 1/3 of departures are canceled for tomorrow. Wildfires could burn large parts of the world in the coming decades as temperatures rise. That's the finding of a UN report released today, which also says many governments are not prepared to address the problem. Researchers predict the risk of catastrophic wildfires globally could increase by more than 50% by the end of the century. The western U.S., northern Siberia, central India, and eastern Australia are already seeing more fires.
Our storm is going to be pulling away as we head into tonight, and with that, the rain and snow will be winding down. But behind it, cold air really settles in, and we're going to watch as temperatures crash overnight tonight. And with that, frost advisories and freeze warnings are in effect for tonight. So our winter storm warnings will be allowed to expire at about 6 o'clock later this evening for some of the mountains as that snow comes to an end. But again, I mentioned behind all of this comes the cold air, and you could see the frost advisories along the coast and also some freeze warnings further inland in effect tonight for some of the valleys here through 8 a.m. Thursday morning. So temperatures tonight getting down to 40 degrees in San Diego, 33 out towards El Cajon, 26 in Ramona, 29 in Escondido. And there is the possibility of record-breaking cold temperatures here in spots tonight. Tomorrow, temperatures back up into the 60s in Oceanside, Escondido, and San Diego, 60s in Borrego Springs, still in the 30s in the mountains though. And these temperatures are below average for this time of year, but we are going to be warming up over the next couple of days. So that's the good news that is in the forecast. Near the coast, temperatures going up into the 70s by the time we get towards Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, as those winds turn more offshore, and that'll mean an increase in temperatures. Further inland, we go from the 60s Thursday and Friday up into the 70s and even closer to 80 degrees as we head towards next Monday, which is a nice warm up from, again, the frigid cold air we're going to have overnight. We're still going to get down into the 30s tonight, tomorrow night, and even as we head into the weekend. But after that, those overnight temperatures do warm up a good bit. In the mountains, temperatures from the 30s to the 40s from Thursday into Friday, and then we get up into the 50s as we head into Sunday and Monday. And in the deserts, temperatures warming up from the 60s into the 70s by the end of the weekend and as we head into next week. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Jessica Pash.
As the nationwide blood shortage continues, a study is underway to determine whether restrictions on gay men donating blood should be lifted. Volunteers who are currently unable to donate blood are being surveyed in cities across the U.S. They're being asked questions about behavior risks rather than just their sexual identity. Researchers are also collecting blood samples to test HIV and HIV prevention medication. Gay rights groups have long challenged donation restrictions, saying they're unnecessary due to advanced blood testing technology.
I think a lot of it is steeped in homophobia and AIDS hysteria that this community's faced ever since the inception back in the early 80s. So it's time, and it's long overdue.
I would love to donate blood. I know there's a blood shortage going on, especially with COVID and everything.
Researchers will gather data through July and send the results to the FDA, which will then consider lifting the restrictions on gay men donating blood. Millions of people use infertility treatments to have a baby, and this week new research is linking those treatments to an increased risk for heart and pregnancy-related complications. Mary Maloney has a closer look.
Shining new light on infertility treatments. New research finds women who used assisted reproductive technology have increased risk for vascular and pregnancy-related complications compared to those who don't.
And these can include placental abruption or increased risk of C-section, small babies, preterm deliveries, things like that.
The study in the Journal of the American Heart Association found women who used infertility treatments had more pre-existing health conditions, including high blood pressure and diabetes when they started the treatment. The women were also 38% more likely to need a cesarean delivery and 26% more likely to have the baby born prematurely. Infertility specialist Dr. Sigal Klipstein says that's not surprising.
The findings are confirming things that we already know, that women who have cardiovascular risk factors when they're entering a pregnancy do have increased risks.
This study also found increased risk for women who underwent fertility treatments, even when they had no pre-existing symptoms of heart disease. Dr. Klipstein says underlying infertility, not the fertility treatment, is often what's linked to worse outcomes. A key limitation of the study was that it did not compare different fertility treatments. Dr. Klipstein says that's an important distinction.
A woman who maybe needed a short course of fertility pills and became pregnant very quickly is different from a woman who required multiple rounds of IVF.
For today's Health Minute, I'm Mary Maloney.
Not far from downtown San Diego, in the heart of Barrio Logan, there are students learning to cook in an unconventional culinary classroom. It's part of the new California Culinary Arts Institute for Adults. But KPBS education reporter MG Perez shows us how children are now the special ingredient in this community of learning.
11-year-old Carlos Sandoval is a chef in the making.
We can do the entree right now.
His mentor is executive chef instructor Sohrab Zardkuhi, who is also the director and founder of the new California Culinary Arts Institute. In the common chaos of a commercial kitchen, Carlos has learned his lessons well.
When you're plating something, you have to be organized. You don't just put the food on the plate. You have to be very presentive.
This 6th grade student spends at least 10 hours a weekend plating and learning the art of cooking in a 6-week program now catering to kids ages 10 to 16. During the week, the school has adults working on cooking and baking certifications, which happens to include Carlos's mother, Angelica. But it's his father who inspired him most.
He always wanted to be a chef one day, and then he didn't have that opportunity to be a chef. So I want to accomplish his dreams as mine.
You're going to lean the meat against the potato.
Chef Zardkuhi is an immigrant from Iran by way of Spain. He's been cooking since he was 6 years old. His is not only a culinary story, it's a love story too.
Every time that my mother cooked, I look first for the leftovers. And I wanted to eat the leftovers because I appreciated for what she had done. I didn't want it to be left, I don't know, without attention. And I'm going to turn it on for you and go.
Danica Maitorina is almost 10 years old.
You had to put a little bit fire on it and it turns like brown.
She's making creme brulee on her first day. She tells us her home cooking includes pancakes, cookies, and tortillas, among many other talents. Danica dances, too, while living with a diagnosis on the autism spectrum, which only makes her dreams to become a chef that much more exceptional.
I want to have a restaurant. I want to make my own foods and desserts.
What kind of food?
Like soup, tacos, pizza, cheeseburgers.
The chef and his team of instructors are here to educate and cultivate young cooks.
They want to be proud, and they want their parents to be proud of it. It is good for them to teach them how to eat healthier rather than fast foods.
The new Culinary Institute is in the heart of Barrio Logan, a neighbor to culture and the crisis of homelessness. But in these tents could be a future success story created in a kitchen. The chef plans for scholarships to include homeless students, and he wants to hire those in need to staff an outdoor patio restaurant, with all proceeds going to homeless programs and other charities.
When ability comes in, responsibility should kick in as well. So if God made me available to have this school, and I don't want to be the only one who gets the benefit.
It'd be nice to learn how to cook other things aside from just eggs.
You know how to cook eggs?
Yep. Oh, very well.
14-year-old Joshua Mesa is more comfortable chopping boards than food. He's successful at mixed martial arts and now steps out of his comfort zone to try his skills in a kitchen.
I think cooking is a way we can express ourselves and a way to get to know a lot of people, and without even having to use or learn another language. Cooking is just kind of a universal thing we all know and all do.
I have no words, it's just delicious.
Cooking with love is also universal. Carlos puts it this way.
By the way we make it is kind of like love. Like you give somebody a hug, they love it. You give somebody food, they love it.
Like student, like chef.
Once you touch a food and you touch this food with passion to care for someone, to give with someone, because you love that someone, it tastes different.
That's a delicious recipe for love and learning. MG Perez, KPBS News.
What a great story. And we want to leave you with this. A reporter in Columbus, Ohio, was out on a story when he got an unexpected visit from his biggest fan, his mom. His photographer caught it all on camera. Here it is.
This is my mom. Hold on. Hi, baby. I'm trying to work right now. You're over there calling my phone. This is D'Angelo. You can say hi. Hi, and don't be holding up traffic because you got cars behind you.
Miles Harris posted his mom's visit on social media, writing, "Typical Sandy." Now mom and son have gone viral. Gosh, I hope my mom is paying attention here. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.